Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
All right, cool, brother. We are locked and loaded, man. Happy New Year, man. It's our first transmission of the 2017 year. Jeffrey Wilson right here, locked and loaded for the old Conspiracy Farm with my partner in crime, UFC Hall of Famer, kicker of many asses, Pat Miletich. What's up, brother?
Well, there's a lot that's really going on, obviously, and it's great to be kicking off 2017 with you, brother. I think that this is going to be a very interesting year and years to come with the Trump administration, obviously, with the left with their swords out and going at it, buddy.
Well, we got 10 days, man. We literally have 10 days. It's January. No, is it the 20th he comes in?
The 20th is Inauguration Day, and, we've got a lot of stuff going on. The Hillary Clinton, the new FBI dump of over 300 emails, was it? 300 pages of documents on top secret and confidential emails that she lied about. So there's even more stuff. And you think about, Jeff, the left and the media and all these people going off on, Russia, Russia did this, Russia did that. And now now that these government officials are under so much pressure with the citizens and people on the right going, look, obviously that's not good. We don't want Russia, getting into our computer systems, which they've done time and time again. China's done it.
We all have done it.
Israel's even done it.
The U.S. has done it, yeah.
Yeah, we're the kings of it.
Exactly.
We've fixed over 70 elections. We've put puppet regimes in place over 70 times in history.
That's why I always found so funny these past couple of weeks, Pat. The CIA says this, the CIA says that. I mean, of course, we need to have respect for our intelligence communities, et cetera, et cetera. But when did the CIA become the bastion of truth? Last time I checked, the CIA's whole agenda is to obfuscate and, by deception thou shalt make war type thing. And then so now like everything they listed, propaganda, hacking, et cetera, that's just right from their playbook, or all intelligence apparatus' playbook. So it's like.
But here's what's beautiful. Here's what I want to say. If I was standing there in front of any mainstream media people and I happen to be on air with them, I'd go, so was today's FBI email dump on Hillary Clinton, was that information given to them by the Russians also?
Right.
This is garbage. It's complete garbage. Okay, maybe there was a couple hackers in Russia who were feeding stuff to WikiLeaks, because there's hackers all over the globe that are feeding stuff to WikiLeaks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's easy enough to go, okay, the IP address is in a suburb of Moscow, and so therefore it's Russia.
But then they trace some of those IP addresses to the Department of Homeland Security.
Well, and that makes sense, because the Department of Homeland Security was hacking the state of Georgia's election process.
Exactly. Ooh, that's
on
right.
On many occasions, like through the primaries and everything else, dude.
Yeah. No, exactly. I forgot about that guy. I wanted to get the Secretary of State of Georgia on because, he spoke about that.
To get rid of this administration, imagine being Trump, not to go off on a tangent here, but imagine being Trump and his group coming in. Imagine the flushing of the toilet that's going to happen after the 20th.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's already started.
Number of offices that are, because there's transitions between administrations where a lot of people stay on, right?
Yeah.
That's not happening with this one. It's complete cleaning house of so many different agencies and departments. It's going to be incredible.
It will be very, very fascinating to see. I mean, I think, these next 4 years are going to be very interesting. And, like you said, this transition and, him not – and that's the other thing we seem to have forgotten throughout history. Why, he's disrespecting the intelligence community, and Trump's contention is, dude, the intelligence community, if you will, has been politicized. And, we seem to forget about weapons of mass destruction and Colin Powell holding up fucking comic books of mobile, Scud or whatever it was, mobile chemical facilities. This has been going on for a while, man. This has been going on for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think the left is, let's go to Meryl Streep and her bullshit speech at the what was the I don't even watch the Emmys or any of this stuff. What was this? Was this Golden Globes?
I think it was the Golden Globes, and she got the Cecil B. DeMille Award.
So happy for her. So
yeah.
happy.
I mean,
Yeah.
and you know, and
Did you see the look? Did you see the look on Vince Vaughn
and Mel Gibson? I know.
and Mel Gibson's faces when she started talking? It's hilarious.
I don't care if I don't give a shit if celebrities have opinions, whatever, say it. I don't care, but you still have to stand by what you're saying.
Well, you've got to base it on fact, and she
exactly
based it on watching, the Today Show, dude.
Well, and what she was saying is technically true. You know what I mean? Hate begets hate. Fucking disrespect begets disrespect. But I mean, she was saying it like war and all of this shit just started on election day or campaign day when Trump just started. Like, she got the Congressional Medal or something from Obama. So apparently she's cool with Obama, drone striking Americans and NDAA and indefinite detention of Americans and assassination and wars throughout the world. Apparently that's okay, hate and disrespect. But when Trump says some shit,
don't talk about our outgoing president like that. He got a Nobel Prize before he ever got in office.
I know. That's what I'm saying. This, like you said, you gotta have your shit rooted in some reality. And like I said, I don't care. She can say what she wants. I don't particularly doesn't make.
And there's if somebody wants to go to my Facebook page, or they can look it up on YouTube, it's the proof that Trump was not making fun of this reporter with cerebral palsy.
I saw that. Yeah.
Did you watch the video?
The debunking of the video, yeah, the whole I didn't know what I said. Like,
so it's the exact same movements for that reporter when that reporter changed his story on Muslims celebrating on 9/11.
Yeah.
Right? He completely changed it after over a decade. To then the exact same thing when a video of Trump talking about Cruz not being able to answer a question.
It was a litany of different things.
Movements.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was talking about Cruz. He was talking about Obama. He was,
And then a general. And then Trump did that about a general who couldn't answer questions. So it debunks the whole thing. But here again, we are chasing. The left is so good at starting brush fires, like I was talking about.
And false narratives like that.
And we are chasing these things. Now, instead of talking about things to make this nation better, we're spending our time debunking all the bullshit that these people put out there.
Yeah.
Right? Which is obviously, we're on the defensive constantly. So we need to figure out a way, the people on the right need to figure out a way of becoming offensive and shutting these people down and bringing them out into the light and showing who they really are.
Yeah, I mean, and that, like you said, with the media apparatus pretty much carrying their water so hardcore, it's really tough to break through their false narratives, man.
Right. So now, and back to, think about it. You've worked on television shows. You've done a lot of different stuff on TV. You do voiceover work. You do a lot of different stuff. I work in the TV industry also. There are a lot of people that are very powerful that are left-leaning people, right?
Absolutely.
People that pretty easily could probably fire you. So imagine if I got up on stage to receive an award for my broadcast and use that as a platform to talk about a president like Obama. Say it was 8 years ago, and I was up on stage and I gave that kind of speech about Obama. Dude, I'd be fired so fast,
yeah,
it'd make your head spin.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the double standard that's going on with these people.
True.
They're safe spaces and trigger warnings and all this other stuff, and people losing their jobs, people losing their bakeries, everything else. It's just their way, their tool of shutting down free speech, the First Amendment. And I think that has to motivate people on the right, Constitution-loving Americans, to go the furthest distance they can to the right. One extreme creates another, right, Jeff? When somebody tells me I can't yell, can't say something about the other side, I'm going to say it 20 times just because they told me I could. And that's what Americans need to do. They need to go, you know what? That's not how this is going to work. You go find your safe space because here it comes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, no, absolutely. And I mean, this, like we talked about, I think the narrative, I don't think necessarily the right has a monopoly on truth, just like, both sides are lying, and what both sides need to take responsibility for is the truth of a given situation. Like back when Bush was in office, like the Republicans so carried that water and were so, fervent on war and terror and weapons of mass destruction. I mean, I get there's a lot of nuance to it, but we found out so much of that was horseshit. And then nobody, really kind of went back and said, you guys got to really be accountable for this. And on the left, it's the same fucking thing. They're more worried about Russia and hacking and this and that than what was hacked. We don't even talk about John Podesta and the spirit parties anymore. We're all talking about fucking Russia, just knee-jerk pulling on that whole east-west whatever, when in fact, we're still talking about a pedophile ring that's runs rampant throughout our country regardless of who hacked it. So again, like on both sides, they got to take responsibility for their own dirt on both sides.
Yeah, Americans need to see that. We need to get rid of the that preconceived notion of Republican is good, Democrat is bad, or vice versa if you're a lefty. And people need to hold our politicians accountable, period. McConnell, McCain, these guys, in my mind, are just as far left-leaning as Democrats. And they've proven that time and time again. And Speaker Ryan, I mean, you talk about a guy that freaking will go any way the wind is blowing.
Which is very interesting because he came in on that that Tea Party wave of strict constitutionalist, limited government. You know what I mean? He was supposed to be the outsider, and then how
he's
quickly
the guy that enabled Obama to friggin' get everything pushed through.
Yeah, like how quickly his stripes changed. But no, you're absolutely right, man.
I can't believe the people of Wisconsin reelected him.
Well, what the American people don't know is what makes them the American people, Pat.
Well, that's the scary part.
Well, I mean, and that Hillary thing is a perfect example here. Like, this stuff won't go anywhere. The left won't, literally, they're in this new dump, 300 some emails. Repeatedly, she sent confidential stuff. She literally repeatedly did the very thing she testified that she didn't do, which was massively illegal.
Yeah, and like you said, this administration, the DNC, all the media, everybody covering their own asses on this thing and going, yeah, let's point at the Russians. It's the Russians. It's the Russians. Instead of, being truthful and saying, there's been a lot of corruption, man. There's been a lot of, and sure, they're not going to do that. They're all covering each other's asses. And the fact that they're not doing that, and it's so blatantly obvious that I'm embarrassed for people on the left who won't see the obvious. I mean, I'm truly embarrassed for her.
Yeah, instead of saying like she was just a shit candidate and a shit human being, all of this, this weird, horrible, elementary, juvenile type misdirection. Like I said, like it's like your girl just caught you cheating in bed, and you're like, like Eddie Murphy said in Raw, like wasn't me. Like I'm looking at you doing it, wasn't me. Sorry, wasn't me. Like it's insane. It's the level of I guess loyalty that people have for, like Meryl Streep. That's a perfect example. Like how in your right fucking mind, fine, have an opinion on Trump. You don't like the guy, but you are just seriously putting on display right now your lack of understanding of real-time geopolitics and just history in general. Because like I said, if you think war and all this shit just started with Donald J. Trump, you are very selectively choosing your history.
Right. And the beautiful thing is the White House press corps sat there and listened to absolutely hilarious. That the line was Meryl Streep delivered a thoughtfully careful, considered message, and the look on the White House press corps is like, are you fucking serious? You're going to feed us this line of garbage. The picture of one of these ladies, a reporter, is sitting there just looking at him like, no, that's not. And where's the blame also, not just to cover their asses on corruption, but when Jay Johnson from Department of Homeland Security says, we're going to take over and we're going to monitor the elections to make sure that there's no corruption and that the election doesn't get hijacked or hacked or this or that. And where's the finger pointing at Hillary Clinton using a private server in the bathroom of wherever the hell it was in Colorado, dude?
Or any of that DNC shit that they were doing all summer long. Fucking Bernie Sanders over. I mean, they were so hugely, engaged in election fraud to steal shit from him is not even funny. And then, the guy goes and delivers a summons to the DNC and Debbie Wasserman Schultz on tape and winds up dead less than 48 hours later.
Seth.
No, that wasn't Seth Rich, not him. He was killed.
Seth Rich was the insider who was a Bernie Sanders guy, right? And they think that he's the guy that was leaking a lot of the stuff to
Yes.
And he ends up dead in a robbery that wasn't a robbery. Nothing was missing.
Right. Late at night, he was on the phone with his girlfriend, and Sean Lucas. Sean Lucas is the guy who delivered the summons to the DNC and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and was literally found like 2 or 3 days later on his bathroom floor. So I mean, yeah, the hacking and stuff was going on well before. Obviously, Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to. That's how grimy these guys are, Pat. Wasserman Schultz has to leave. Who do they put in? Donna Brazile, who weeks later winds up getting pinched for feeding Hillary Clinton questions. It's just like, man.
And they're talking about putting in Ellison, right?
Who's that?
Ellison from Minnesota, the friggin' connected to the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas.
Oh, I'm not
hip.
I don't know who that is. I mean,
they're talking about putting him in his chair, and I said, do it. Dude, put his ass in there.
Wow.
Bury yourselves even further to the left.
Well, Huma Abedin's family and parents have ties to the Muslim Brotherhood.
Dude, and that's the thing. This summer on C-SPAN, I've got the video downloaded, and the media never covered this. Is Huma Abedin, the report, the gentleman reading the report, is going through and going, her whole family and her have direct connections to the Muslim Brotherhood all the way into Saudi Arabia, with the guys that are the financiers of Al-Qaeda.
Oh, wow.
This lady's, Huma's connected to these people, which we haven't seen Huma or
I know, right? What's up with that? Or
Still.
Or what's his name? The God, you brought up a couple times. Haverman, not the.
Yeah,
he was
the
head of the Clinton Foundation.
Clinton Initiative.
Yeah.
And the Clinton Foundation, yeah.
Has he popped back up yet?
October.
What?
No, he's been gone since October, dude. I'm telling you. Going back, President Obama put more sanctions on Russia for the alleged hacking, and we got more NATO forces massing around, Russian borders in London, Latvia, and Estonia, and places like that, which is,
dangerous, very dangerous.
Not a good situation. But here's a quote this is President Obama in October saying this. And this is the same guy now that's saying the Russians hacked our election.
Yeah.
Right? This is what he said in October. There is no serious person out there who would suggest that you could even rig America's election. There is no evidence that has happened in the past, or that there are instances that could happen this time. So I'd advise Mr. Trump to stop his whining. Wow. That was in October, right? A month before the election, when he thought that Hillary was going to win by a landslide. Right?
When he kept saying it was rigged, it was rigged, it was rigged.
Right. So this is the level of deceit and bullshit and turning around and lying.
Well, and hubris, because they didn't think their asses were going to get their fucking plows cleaned.
I love it, dude. I love it.
We're all over the place, but yeah, I mean it's no, I'm serious. I love the freaking
episode broadcast.
I know, I love it, but I mean it's just like I said, again, the hubris. Like they all are just in shock. And Trump is no silver bullet, gang. It's just what it is. I've made it pretty clear. I'm pretty apolitical, but to see these guys like in such a freaking tizzy. I mean, to like you said, the rhetoric before the election, like what you just read, Hillary saying, if you don't validate it, come on, dude, you can't, like, nobody contests an election, you'll be undermining the democratic process, etc. And then to see them, obviously shocked after they lose, just engage in the very same behavior they were telling dude not to do, and just still do it with a straight fucking face. It's just comedy. It's high comedy. Just enter the Benny Hill music, dude. It's insane, man. It'd be insane if it wasn't actually happening, but it is. It is. And like you said, and people are still defending Hillary. Like, I don't get it. We should not even talk about her anymore. There should just be a moratorium on that name.
Well, it's, the fact that I think
the news did come out about her, but
the Republic was actually saved. right?
With Trump?
No, with Hillary not getting in. I'm not saying Trump's the savior.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, with Hillary not getting in is, no, absolutely. And I think people, Pat, we need to have more shows on that, because when we say that, we just sound, we just want to, I don't know. But the globalists are getting rid of nation states. They're getting rid of borders, gang. They're creating unions all over, North American Union, African Union, European Union. That's the trend.
They go, you know what? Then eventually they go, you know what? Let's just make it a big global union.
That's essentially what we're talking about. I mean, and that's, I think, the longer, because they've been having this agenda. We've talked about this. They don't look at their agendas day to day like we do with our ADD. They're looking at it like 10, 20, 50-year increments, man. They're playing chess, not checkers. So, yeah, when we say, he saved the republic, if you want to go towards globalism and look what happened to the EU and like Turkey, Greece, Britain, the UK, for example, then, let's go down that road. But we've seen where that leads us. So, and we have a constitution that says we can't do that shit. So, I don't know, man.
Right. So, let's get to Trump. Let's talk about moving forward, though.
His cabinet.
His cabinet, what's it, 26? Oh. Yeah, Sessions, going through his hearings this morning. Right?
For Attorney General, yeah.
I don't think that they're going to be able to. The Democrats, that's the thing. The Democrats are talking like they still run the Senate and Congress.
Right.
It's literally hilarious just to listen to them. Now, hopefully the Republicans have some balls, some cojones. They'll prove that the Democrats don't. And the Democrats got rid of, they got rid of the when they had the majority in both houses and in the White House. They got rid of the ability for the minority to be able to fight these things. They're paying the price for it, right?
Yeah, it's,
So that's to me, hey, swim in it because you filled the pool.
You done made your bed there, sleep tight, baby.
Yeah, but the Trump administration, there's, 690 key positions requiring Senate confirmation. The nominees that have been announced so far are only 26, which leaves 664 to be announced. That's a lot of vacant spots that need to get announced. So they need to get their asses in gear on that. Obviously, he hasn't even stepped into office yet, but yeah, they need to really get that going. And I'm assuming that once you get people in certain positions within your cabinet, then those people will take over with groups of people and start searching for the others.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about, a couple things. What do you think about them saying, I guess this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, it's, Trump is not necessarily buying everything that's being told to him about this Russian hacking report that he's getting. What are your thoughts on that? Is he undermining it, or does he just know that it's been politicized and they're trying to,
Well, here's the thing. The one thing I will say about Trump where who his advisors need to go, look, dude, I know you're an egotistical son of a bitch, but, that takes, I think, that's not a bad quality necessarily to be president. To have some guts, to have some balls, alpha. And be able to stand toe to toe with other world leaders and go, no, this is the way it's going to be.
Right.
You got to have a guy who's that tough. So that makes sense in terms of that, but he needs to get the fuck off Twitter. Because people say, look, dude, give me control of your Twitter account, and then I'm going to change the passcode to get into it, and I'm going to run it. And you're going to say, here's out of Trump's mouth would be, fuck the Chinese. We are going to destroy them if they mess with us. And then the translation on Twitter is going to be,
right.
We are really looking forward to work with China, but in no way, shape, or form are we going to take second seat.
Right.
There's ways of translating.
He needs a filter.
What he just, I mean, at times I sit there and go, the guy's never drank a drop in his life, thank God.
And you wonder.
Because it's drunk tweeting, dude.
Right. It is, because it's always like at 2 or 3 in the morning.
It's drunk tweeting. I mean, that's the kind of tweets that get everybody else fired, right? So, it goes back to him sending the letter to Mark Cuban, who's actually, owns Access TV, the company I work for, the network, when Cuban's first reality show got canceled, and Trump sends him a letter, and it says, hey, Mark, just sorry to hear about, your show getting canceled and just paraphrasing basically that, anytime you want a show to be a winner, you just give me a call and I'll make sure that you stay on the air. And sincerely, Donald Trump. Basically a backhanded slap to his face.
Right.
And that's Trump. When he's sitting there talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger. His ratings are bombing. And I actually watched part of the show, The Apprentice.
The new one, yeah, I saw.
Arnold definitely does not seem like he's natural in that position.
It's certainly a natural hair color he's got going there. Jeez.
Orange.
Hey, whatever. I'm like,
he's trying to be Donald Trump, baby.
Is that a stunt puppet from like Terminator or something? Because that does not look natural at all.
Yeah, and the whole. Oh God, I can't believe that NBC got so creative with him and said, "You're terminated," and then get to the chopper.
Oh no, is that what they do?
He actually says it.
Oh, geez.
And I just, now I know why the ratings are so shitty. Besides poor Arnold, Arnold's great in movies. No, he's not. But anyway, live TV or television, it's even worse. I can't imagine when they actually do the last episode live, how bad Arnold's going to butcher that son of a bitch.
Right. Line, please. Line. I need my line.
The lamentations of the women.
What does he say in Pumping Iron? He's like, I'd give him the wrong advices.
Oh, when he's sitting with Lou Ferrigno and his dad for breakfast?
Yeah.
He's going, and Ferrigno's massive at the time.
He was, too.
Yeah, he's younger than Arnold, and Arnold's, I think, going for his, 6th or 7th title, and sitting there eating breakfast with him and going, I just think you're peaking at the wrong time. He goes, I think, a couple weeks later, if this contest was a couple weeks later, you'd probably beat me, but looking at you right now, you're peaking at the wrong time, dude.
He fucked his head, dude. he in the same interview, he's like, I already called my dad and told him I already won. I was like, oh, jeez. He mind-fucked old poor Louis. But getting back on track, Jared Kushner, another appointment, big senior appointment, dude, is his son-in-law, a big multi-billion-dollar company, real estate company he owns. He's going to have to divest from. But, yeah, this is going to be interesting because it's an interesting, very top appointment. He's not even asking for a salary, supposedly. But it does supposedly violate some of these nepotism laws. Because I remember after JFK had Robert Kennedy as his attorney general, they had certain nepotism laws that kind of outlawed that. What are your thoughts on that appointment?
It's certainly not. It's not blood relation. So I think that they may be able to pull it off. But
right.
Kushner's obviously a brilliant mind, a very smart guy, and
no political experience though. So that just is fascinating. Very.
And you know what, dude? But here's the thing. Look. Trump got voted in, and a lot of people got voted in who don't have any political experience for that very reason, right?
Right.
So to me, I'm sick of politicians, and I know most of America is sick of politicians. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. They're going to come in and run things like a business, that's what America is the biggest business in the world. Well, second now to China, of course, but no thanks to the Obama administration. But no, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. We have to wait and see, man. It's how are they going to, the left is looking at it like, holy shit, the smokestacks on the friggin' FEMA camps are starting to friggin' work. They're so afraid, which that's garbage. That's not going to happen. But we just have to sit back and wait and see and give it a chance. And I know that the ominous feeling on the left is the same feeling I had when I watched Obama win in 2008, I went, we are done, dude. We are done. Because I read all about his family, the people that raised him. He was surrounded by communists. And he proved it, really. And he even stated it clear as day many times. I would like to do more, but the Constitution is stopping me.
Right.
So thank God for the
Constitution.
And the left, and the people on the left who hate the Constitution need to understand that that's the documents that are going to protect you from Trump if he goes off.
Exactly. That's what people don't get, man. I mean, I understand you're down to take the rights, etc., because of your hatred for XYZ. But what happens when it's on your side? You know what I mean? When the script is flipped and now you become the reviled one, whatever it happens to be, the Flat Earth Society. We have to come after you now. You know what I mean? It's that ilk. But check this out. I had a question. I was talking to somebody about this. So you remember back when Eisenhower came into office, he had his farewell address, not came into office, was leaving office, his farewell address talking about the military-industrial complex. Remember that?
Right. He was the guy that coined the phrase.
Yeah, exactly. And so, in my humble opinion, and we've talked about it in this show, or actually we haven't really gotten into the Kennedy thing too much, but, you know, John Kennedy was up against, even though he was kind of, quote-unquote, trying to do the right thing, was up against a network, a military-industrial complex, which was going to resist a lot of what he did, and I think that network is what killed him. Trump coming in, obviously 50 years later, is really kind of at war, if you will, with the establishment of this kind of military-industrial complex, if you will. What do you think of that possibility of him coming in, trying to do the right thing, but still having this rogue network, if you will, still in place, sabotaging shit around the world, Gladio B style, still doing the ISIS stuff with, you know, Saudi Arabia and all these countries we've mentioned? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I know it's happened before, you know, so their track record is proven. We've talked about Gulf of Tonkin and things like that, where false flags are sent up and conflicts. You know, it's not that tough for a NATO force jet to get shot down and then blaming Russia, and then Trump's like, oh shit, here we go.
Right.
Send some more troops over, build ups, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. Where I think the way Trump's acting though is that he's with his almost denying the intelligence officials' claims of Russia hacking this, and you know, there's finally Clapper and some of these other assholes, you know, are admitting, okay, there's no evidence at all that they hacked the election, right? We have.
What does that even mean when they say that? Because they didn't hack the machines.
Yeah, you can't.
They just engaged in the propaganda to make you want to vote another way, which, like, again, everybody does.
Well, and you know what? Okay, so look, we all agree as Americans that Russia hacking our systems or getting into our emails of our government officials is really bad shit.
Sure.
Yes, we're not happy about that. And no, we're not Russian agents. Okay, morons. God.
We're not Russian. Let's put that out there right now.
You know, it would be a different story if Russia got into our, you know, a Pentagon official's emails to figure out our troop movements and then blow a fucking aircraft carrier out of the water. You know, it's a different thing, right? Yeah. Manipulating an election by exposing the massive corruption on the other side. And we're sitting here talking like Russia actually is the one that did it, which I still don't believe that.
Right.
You know, General Powell sitting in front of the UN saying all 16 intelligence agencies from the United States concur that there are chemical weapons everywhere in Iraq, and we need to go in and friggin' get this guy out of there, right? And destroy an entire nation in the process. So don't tell me they're not lying again, okay? Because the people that are put in the high positions in the CIA and all these other agencies are Obama leftist puppets right now, okay? It's the soldiers within, the patriots within those agencies, in my mind, through people that I've talked to, are the ones that release the stuff to WikiLeaks, and they're covering that stuff up. Maybe in the end, Obama didn't want Clinton to be president, to be quite frank with you. Maybe this is all a game. I mean, it's a reverse in mindset from a lot of people the way they would think.
Right.
But we know that the Clintons and Obamas do not get along and do not like each other.
Well, and a part of me was thinking towards the impact that was kind of going on. It was just like, it was almost that the establishment knew they had to cut their losses because she was so damaged. Even if she got in, she was fucked, dude.
Because it was nonstop investigations. And
it would have been.
Else. It would have been a standstill government.
And part of me was like, wow, is the establishment really going to roll their dice with Trump, then go for their sure thing that they know is just like a fucking ship, you know, just whatever the word is, just not even able to move, just stuck, you know what I mean? Stuck in the mud type thing.
Right. No, I think that I really, in my gut feeling, it was patriots within these intelligence agencies. And we've seen even videos from former intelligence officers who said, trust me, it's people within the U.S. government that are doing this. They are trying to save their nation right now.
So to put a button on to answer that question, though, if Trump does come in doing the right stuff, do you think he is still going to face a kind of rogue network doing stuff to undermine his foreign policy and just?
Without a doubt. But here's the thing. I think that they're comfortable at this point saying, okay, we need to let him. We'll give him a little leash. And let him out a little bit here because he's talking about rebuilding the military, which means you're spending money on companies that are building weapons and aircraft systems and all kinds of different stuff, building ships, everything else. So those are the big boys. Those are the people that need to benefit from building a war machine, right? So they may be very well happy with a military buildup and not having conflicts around the globe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, the little guy who sells friggin' shoulder-launched missiles is pissed off because we're not fighting anywhere. That's okay. I get it. Okay, the guys that are selling 223 and 308 ammo aren't selling enough because we're not blowing the shit out of a country, right?
Right.
So that's
like Apaches or Hueys. I don't even know if they fly Hueys anymore. And any of those bigger chunks of stuff.
The Blackhawks and the Little Birds and the
Well, I mean, wouldn't have sent them in Snedley Butler. War is a racket, so it's just like as long as there's money to be made in it, they're going to do it. I'm just kind of curious if Trump does kind of get in there and do the right thing or whatever, what he's going to be up against. 'Cause I think every president still kind of has that rogue network, and they kind of, like you said, give them a leash. Like, all right, let's see. 'Cause I don't think any president can get in there and just kind of I'm a lone gunslinger. Like, no, you're somebody's bitch still. So just pump the brakes.
Right. No, absolutely. But here's the thing where Trump's not that kind of guy. Trump's got a big enough ego where he's not going to look. Our outgoing president, dude, come on. There's pictures of him riding a woman's mountain bike with a skid lid. Okay. Don't tell me he's a fucking hardcore man. No, he's not an alpha male. Dude, no offense, Jeff. Black dude that can't shoot basketball worth a shit. Come on, dude.
Oh, Jesus Lord. Pat said it, not me. I'm just joking.
Hey man, I don't hide anything. I mean, I had a couple of guys, and I had it was funny. L.C. Davis and a bunch of other guys that just a great group of guys who fell on the floor laughing. All my white guys were stunned that I even said it. But I had one black guy that I loved to death, and he passed away from cancer, and it broke my heart that he died. But I was teaching something with footwork, and it involved rhythm, right? And sorry to go off on a tangent here, but
that's right.
I yelled at him in front of the whole team during practice. It was a really intense practice, and I was trying to get this point across about rhythm with footwork and everything else. And I yelled at him. I go, damn it. I go, how can you be a black guy and have no fucking rhythm? And L.C. Davis and everybody else, all the black dudes are falling on the mat laughing, rolling around. And all the white guys are like, God, Miletich is a fucking dick. But that's just the way I am. That's just the way I am. I don't give you slack based on skin pigmentation. It's not going to happen.
Right. It's the intent behind it. You weren't intending to be racist. I understand. A black dude will say it about another black dude all the time. Be like, you know what I mean? They just call him out for the same shit. So it's just like
you can't dance, bitch.
Right.
Look, I can't dance. So white guy, yeah, I can't dance. Right, I get it. I get that.
We digress here on the show in Conspiracy Farm. A little bit of everywhere here on the farm today, but that's all right.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, that's like I said, man, we got 10 days, brother, and I'm anxious to see what's going down. We're still keeping our eye on Russia and Turkey. Obama, after this shit went down, Obama's like, we will retaliate in our time of our choosing, and the next week, 3 Russian diplomats are killed. The ambassador to Turkey is killed. The other diplomat was killed, and there was a third one that was killed. And did you hear about the NATO auditor of something that was also killed? And apparently this guy's job was to look into who's funding and moving what arms and monies are around.
Yeah. Yeah, because look, I know I'm pretty confident that the $6 billion that turned up missing from the State Department while Hillary was running it, I know where a good chunk of it probably went. And those letters are ISIS and, Boko Haram and a few other groups via NATO. So having that guy who was in control of the books and knew all that information of how NATO was distributing the money and arms, having him be dead is a good thing for this administration that's going out and for Hillary Clinton and her whole group, obviously.
Police in Belgium are probably the death of a high-ranking NATO official after his body was discovered in his car with a gunshot wound to the head, according to reports. Yves Chendelon, the 62-year-old Auditor General of NATO, was found miles away from both his home and office. Single gunshot to the dome.
And that was what part of the dome?
I'm not sure. The occipital parietal. I have no idea, man. I'm just. I have no idea. It's December 26th. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the bodies are. And what did I say? Remember back a few weeks ago, I was like, start looking for inconspicuous deaths and bodies and resignations, man. And sure enough, man, we've seen not even inconspicuous. We've seen deaths out of the box, publicly, privately, and like I've seen a few videos there, and we've talked about this. There's already a covert war going on between Russia and the U.S. and probably has been going on for a while, but now it's coming a little more hardcore. You're seeing what I guess they like to call wet works, these kind of hits going on, planes going down. This is kind of a part of the covert war, I think, that's coming about.
Yeah, and also next week I've just got confirmation that we'll have a friend of mine on the show, former Assistant Secretary of the FBI and also Assistant Secretary of Counterespionage in the CIA, Dave Zadie, who is
nice,
an official in both of those, and he's agreed to come on the show. So we'll have someone who can speak with a lot of authority on a lot of these different issues that are going on, and including terrorism, which he had a lot of in-depth. He was on the front wave of dealing with this stuff in the United States when the imams at all the mosques around the United States and folks that attended those mosques would not give up any information on any radicals.
Right.
So it's a really, really interesting conversation that we're going to have with him next week.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Score. Nice move, Militich. Well, yeah, man, I think I'm about tapped here. Looks like Sessions is still doing his thing in the, Attorney General nominee still getting probed by the Senate here. I think that's, I'm sure he'll get probably.
That's a done deal. He said he'd recuse himself from any Hillary Clinton investigations, which, okay, I get it. He hates Hillary Clinton, and he's anti-liberal. And while we're still here, the left and the media all of a sudden is coming up with these controversial things that he said in the 80s, something like one thing he said in the 80s that they can't even prove he said. They bring that up.
Yeah, see, I heard they were saying something about
some civil rights. He said something racist, like he said boy to a black guy or something. Okay, in the 80s, whatever.
But
we're not talking about the DNC corruption.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, can we talk about children being trafficked, gang? Like, I get it. I had a
guy on Twitter going off on me, going, dude, you were tweeting about Pizzagate. You're friggin' so far down the rabbit hole and this, and I go,
yeah, thank you.
Do a little bit of research on your own, and you'll be at the bottom of the rabbit hole with me.
Right.
If you have
it's
one
not like it's
brain.
the freaking Ark of the Covenant. We've talked about this. Like, there is so much just public information and investigations that have gone on for a long time for you to only surmise what we have on this show. I mean, it's whatever. Like I said, everyone has to start taking responsibility for their own shit. If you're a grown-ass adult like Meryl Streep, talking completely out of your ass. I know she has millions of people like applaud her, and First Amendment, do your damn thing. But like I said, it just illustrated how much she doesn't know about the history, over the last maybe 50, 60 years of geopolitics, etc. And she accepted an award from a president who's been doing the same shit that, I wouldn't say all presidents do, but you know what I mean, engaging in some pretty twisted, fucked up shit.
Yeah, and Meryl Streep, when I posted on that video showing that that Trump was not making fun of that reporter with cerebral palsy, I wrote above it, for an actress named Streep, the truth will set you free. Unless you watch the video, please don't leave a comment. I said it perfectly demonstrates the hit job the media did on Trump and how easy it is to steer the lemmings off a cliff. So when I looked around that Golden Globe crowd of those camera shots of the replay of her speech, I went, lemming,
yeah,
lemming, bunch of lemmings, more lemons. That's all it was.
They're both, whatever, artists, whatever, but they're just more followed by their emotion than they are the logic and the rationale of the situation, which, again, you gotta take responsibility for that shit, man, because they do have a lot of influence over people.
They don't know the definition of logic.
Well, clearly. Clearly. because it's just, anything we've talked about in the show is fairly public information. So, like, again, we're not
pulling it out of thin air.
Yeah, again, this isn't some magical, weird, hidden gem that nobody's seen or understands. It's fucking out there like a champ, but you just got to be willing to, put your biases down and, learn some new information. That's why, dude, honestly, like this show and just the research I do just generally, it's always fucking awesome, like being either proven wrong or learning more or just kind of expanding my understanding, man. Like I try so hard not to get like stuck in this is it. You know what I mean?
Right. But I will tell you that Andrew Wilkow, his catchphrase for his show, we are right, they are wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments on this radio show cannot be disproven, basically. And I've never heard somebody be able to out-debate him at all, besides somebody crying and hanging up on him. Wilkow is very well versed. He talks about a lot of the same stuff. And I've noticed a lot. Dude, I never liked Sean Hannity. He was so cheesy and so just cookie cutter type show. Dude, he has gone way down the rabbit hole a couple times of late. I think, also Wilkow, I was on the Wilkow show and I started talking about Soros and his background and funding Black Lives Matter through organizations, MoveOn.org and other organizations like him or like them, and he has started to talk more like we're talking.
We got to get him on, brother. We got to snatch him up.
We're not afraid to talk. We're not afraid to talk. We're not afraid to say what really is truth. If we've got $1 million a year sponsor who says, dude, just don't talk about this, or this. Okay. Are we more inclined to not talk about it, to talk freely? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I would rather be able to talk freely than have somebody give me $1 million and try to restrict what the hell I can and can't talk about. You know what I mean? The whole function,
absolutely.
Yeah, the whole function of this show is to, like we talked about, try to feed people some stuff the mainstream media isn't feeding them.
Right.
Or giving them.
Well, good stuff, man. Good stuff. And so, like I say, next week will be a lot more focused. We'll be talking about terrorism, anti-terrorism stuff with former Assistant Director of the CIA Counterespionage, Dave Zadie, and we'll have a very focused show next week.
And
he'll be able to tell us some old stories of when he was young.
Yeah, dude, that'll be a lot of listening for me, just sitting back hearing some awesome stories, because that's a heavy hitter right there.
Yeah, so it'll be cool. So we'll have a good time. So I'm good for this week, brother.
All right, man. As am I, man. Happy New Year to you and to everyone else for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. And next week, man, we got a heavy hitter on. And thanks for tuning in, folks. Peace and all that love. Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in. And today's episode has been brought to you by our sponsors, the C4.com, the concealed carry clothing company. If you want to roll concealed and comfortable, check out the C4.com. And if you want to get your very good, high-quality protein, you're going to want to check out Iowa Bison. Go check out Iowa Bison at iowabison.com. Or if you want to get some training done, Pat, where can we find some good training?
Go to firehorsecombatives.com and we actually do civilian programs now, but mostly law enforcement and military. But you can also get high-end civilian courses with us through Firehorse Combatives, whether it's home defense, out on the street defense, a lot of different edged weapon handling, and hand-to-hand combat. So firehorsecombatives.com.
He will train you to be a lethal weapon, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to check out another program that I host, it's a little more lighthearted. It's called It's Me Speaking to You, just spelled how it sounds. It's me, SPKN, the number 2, the letter U. And we have interviews with individuals like UFC Hall of Famer Pat Milicic, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Kamala, the Ugandan giant, and the list continues, ladies and gentlemen. Go check out It's Me Speaking to You. You can find that actually at theconspiracyfarm.com. Just scroll on at the bottom and you will find the icon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in.